Welcome everyone to How Not to Souls. J-Ron here, and today we are looking at a status effect build from Dark Souls 3. Status effects being bleed, frost, poison, and toxic, which are all good in their own ways. I found out that bleed and frost are king, even though I think I already knew that. But yeah, those are two like the best status effects in the game. But anyway, before we get into what I actually think, let's go dive into what we were doing, and then we can have a better way to explain it. And at 120, 30 faith, 14 attunement, 30 endurance, so in a way, a decent amount of health, enough FP to cast, and spell slots to cast 2 spells and our weapon arts comfortably, and a decent in or stamina, 10 vitality as base, 21 dex and strength to meet certain weapon requirements that we were using, so kind of just a lower end quality build. 18 dex and a 24 faith for spell slash miracle slash pyro requirements, and a 45 luck to help increase our bleed procs and our hollow based damages. Now, for the weapons we were using. So I'm not going to go into the whole depths of hollowing weapons. Basically, we get a 5 luck, a 5 extra points of luck if we have a plus 10 hollowed weapon. Now, we're just going to leave it at that. But that was our main, the Hollow Karthus Greatsword from the majority, and it had that lovely, lovely bleed. And we were also stacking it with frozen weapons so we can get the dual proc, frostbite and bleed. That was a really good time. But that was our main when we got it. After we got it. Other weapons of note. The Earthful Straightforward for the frostbite proc, which was good. I thought this weapon was actually pretty awesome. I usually get outshined by Vort's Great Hammer for me. But I had a great time with this. I had a fun time. Straight swords are pretty good in this game. The Poison Ward and Twin Blades, the idea of dual procking poison and bleed was there. I feel like that was kind of wasted on this weapon. I think this weapon's a better bleed weapon. But we were able to dual proc poison and bleed a few times. It was good. It just wasn't that great. Our blood spiked mace plus 10, a spiked mace with bleed infusion is absolutely nuts. The damage isn't crazy high, but the blood bleed proc is, so you're just proc and bleed left and right. That's 91 bleed proc. Ain't nothing to sneeze at, you know what I mean? Poison Rotten Groove Spear, which we didn't invest terribly in after a while. I mean, it just got outshined by a whole bunch of other stuff. And Poison isn't all that great, in my opinion. It does the job it's supposed to do. And when you stack it with like other DOTs, it is worth using. But there were other things that were better than the Rotten Groove Spear. We had to have a scythe, and the Blood Corvian Scythe was pretty good. To be forewarned, though, when you use the Corvian Scythe, you will take on a bleed proc onto yourself. Use the bleed resistance ring. It kind of helps cut that down. You can still proc bleed by using this weapon, but having the bleed resistant rings does help your character have a longer time to do it. I really wanted to get in Sister Freed's Great Scythe, but the only point of frost proc on it was when you used the really awesome looking weapon art. It was really good, but I just feel like I wanted to see if it actually did the thing we wanted to do, and it did, but not in the way we needed it to. Sorcerer's Staff, Pyromancy Flame, and the Saint's Talisman. Listen, you don't need to upgrade your catalysts in this game if you're just doing status procs, because the proc values stay the same when you upgrade it. So if you had a plus 10 talisman, Our bleed procs on Gnaw and Dorothy's 9 would stay the same. The only thing that would increase is the dark damage on it. And since the dark damage was nothing we were interested in this game, and this, well, not this game, but in this playthrough, having that base was perfectly fine. Like Pyromancy Flame, Toxic Mist, and Poison Mist still proc at the same rate, even if you increase the flame. And same with Frozen Weapon and Snap Freeze. They proc at the same rates if we upgrade the staff or don't. Okay. But those are the things we used. Sorcerer's Staff, Pyromancy Flame, and the Saint's Talisman to do the things we needed to do with spells, miracles, and pyromancies. For our armor, for the duration of the game, we did have the Fire Witch set, but as it came later when we got to Ashes of Ariandel, we drifted off to Wilhelm set, and we're going to go back to that because I like Wilhelm set. Looks good. That looks really nice, right? And we didn't have the helmet on because we would be over encumbered. But at this rate, I don't think we're going to be over encumbered now, so we can have the helmet on. And it looks pretty GD dope. For our rings, I mean, these were the rings I was wearing, just the regular plain Jane versions until I got the +3 ones. Majority of the playthrough, Pontiff's right eye. It just worked out better for us that way. More damage with our physical attacks. It was good. It was grand. I also recommend using Lingering Dragon Crest Ring to extend the duration of your frozen weapon. Deep Ring if you want an extra spell slot for the 3 or 4 spells you were using. And for anything you didn't want to invest into terribly, the Knight's Ring, the Hunter's Ring, the Scholar's Ring, or the Priestess Ring will all be good things to utilize in place of like putting points into stats you weren't really going to use, if you know what I mean. Like you could put in less faith and just have 20 faith and put the Priestess Ring on, get that +5 to use Dorothy's 9. This and that. And the Bloodbite Ring for the Corvian Scythe. And I think that's about it. Yeah. I mean, Prisoner's Chain, but I got outclassed by the Ring of Favor +3. So, and our consumables, you're looking at it outside of Carthus Rouge and Rotten Pine Resin, which we all didn't use all too much. Carthus Rouge we used, but not the Rotten Pine Resin. For our spells, miracles, and pyromancies, Toxic Mist and Frozen Weapon were a mainstay on this. Due to the nature that like our main weapon was the Carthus Curve Sword, having Carthus Rouge on to get the extra bleed buildup was huge. Or using Frozen Weapon to get the dual Frostbite/Bleed proc was awesome. And then having Toxic Mist on top of that kind of compounded the status damage. And it was pretty awesome for enemies that could sustain all that. Some enemies are just resistant or immune to some, if not all, status effects. Other things of note: Snap Freeze when we had the Gnaw spells on, the Gnaw Dorothy's 9 spells on. Poison Mist for a little while until we got Toxic Mist. I'm just not a fan of Poison in this game. I don't think anyone's a fan of Poison in this game. Gnaw would have been a mainstay. Really, Dorothy's 9 would have been a mainstay. It's a fantastic spell. But I kind of messed up my whole... I took a break for a few days and I forgot what I was doing. So we would have had Dorothy's 9 if I remembered how I was leveling up. But it really didn't affect anything. It really didn't. Having Toxic Mist and Frozen Weapon on, then having a Bleed Weapon to proc Bleed. A hollowed weapon that you can buff so it can block Frost and Bleed was pretty much our standard. And I would switch out, when I would use the Spiked Mace, I would switch out Frozen Weapon for Snap Freeze. So basically, this was like, the idea was to get a dual or triple proccing situation going so we can get 2 or 3 or more status effects rolling at a time. Similar to what Elden Ring does. You can do like a bunch with Elden Ring. And overall, I had a fun time, especially kind of like planning things out and trying to work things into combat. It was more of just kind of like a puzzle to figure out how to get them all together, if I could get them together, if enemies weren't weak to it. So it was super fun. Oh, something of note that I didn't go after that would probably fit really in this build, the storyteller stuff. It's a pain in the butt to get. It took me like 3 hours to get. It's just you have to farm the Corvians with the storyteller stuff, and the drop rate's so low. It wasn't worth me doing at all. But if you want to go do it, you can. I've done it before. It's not fun. But yes, good build. I think it was fine with PvE. I think it would shine in PvP. I think it would throw people off, hands down, because they don't know what you're working with, and then you come at them with like the card that's crystal. It's going to get me to bleed. Then you just pop frozen on it. You're just like, he's going to do more. Then if you can get him with toxic mist, or throw like a poopy, the dung stalk or whatever, the dung pies at him. That would also be another status effect proccing thing. So I think this was a fun time. Not my favorite, but I did have a fun time with it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the footage, and I'll see you later. Peace out.